I was either gonna go back out on the streets and live that life, or I was gonna walk into the doors of the res. And my dad sat there and he cried. He cried and he just said, you know, I don't wanna see you go through all the years of pain and suffering that I went through. And so he walked me in the front doors, and my life changed forever. I grew up with a dad who's an addict. Growing up, I was, rather self-sufficient. I was a good kid. I knew that I didn't want to become an addict or an alcoholic. So I enjoyed school, I was in sports, and I had a lot of friends in high school. I met a guy who was much older than I was. I was 16 at the time, and he was addicted to Oxycontin. So that was my first introduction to hard drugs. I quit hanging out with my friends, I quit playing sports, and I was really barely going to school at that point. And my dad and my boyfriend at the time and we all used together on Thanksgiving of my senior year in high school. And so that was my first time using with my dad.
Knowing that I was with my daughter and that we were starting to do drugs together it was shameful.
I was addicted to Oxycontin immediately, so it was like a month and a half, 2 months, and then I tried to commit suicide on Christmas Day of that year, of my senior year of high school. After I got out of the hospital, my dad and I picked up using again. That's also when I was introduced to crack, was through my dad. I also picked up shooting heroin as well, so smoking crack, shooting heroin. He had always been my rock and the one person that I could count on and that I could trust, and all of that kind of left us, and drugs and alcohol became like the common denominator between us and our relationship. We decided one day when we were high in the closet that we should get help and that we should go to treatment. I got sober for a little while. I was introduced to AA, NA. I ended up going back to high school, and I ended up walking and graduating high school with the class below me. And so that was a very humbling experience. And so after all of that was done, for whatever reason, I thought that I could use again and handle it and manage. And so that's when I started smoking Oxycontin again. And it was, a short time after that, a month or two, that I decided that I wanted to smoke crack again. And so that's kind of where my rock bottom was. I got ready for work one morning and I wanted to get some crack, and I had no money, and so I grabbed some old purses that I had and I went downtown to Western Avenue because I knew that that's where my dad went, because he had taken me there, even though I'd never scored by myself like this. The wrong person got in my car, and so I was in with this man who just gotten out of prison. He was like 45. We ended up going down to a Days Inn in SeaTac, and we were smoking crack and drinking, and I ended up staying in this hotel for like 4 days, and I ended up getting raped. And there was a prostitute, and they were trying to teach me basically the art of prostitution, and that's when I realized that I was gonna be sex trafficking, or I was gonna be killed. And that was all because I wanted to get high. I wanted to keep using. I left this hotel room at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I grabbed my stuff. I had no shoes on. I drove myself to Harborview, and I walked into Harborview with no shoes on at 3 a.m. I told them that I needed detox. I mean, it was like the most hopeless I had ever been, and I had become an individual that I hated, and I became somebody that I didn't want to be, and I didn't know who I was anymore. I stopped knowing who I was, and I stopped doing all the things that I liked and that I enjoyed, and I was a kid who was a prisoner to drugs and alcohol.
I picked her up and I drove her to Res 12, and I broke down right in the parking lot, and I told her, I didn't want her to go through 30 years of pain and suffering like I did.
My dad chose the res very, very intentionally, and he wanted me to go to be in a place with all women because he knew that it was my best bet for recovery.
A center like that, there's not very many of them around, and where it all focuses on just the woman and who they are. I mean, the one statement I could make is it brought us back together. It made us whole.
We're both clean and sober in recovery. I'll have 5 years in December, and my dad just celebrated 6 years. My relationship with my dad today is wonderful, and it's back to the way that it was, you know, pre all of the drug use and the pain and all of that. So it's a beautiful thing. You know, my life is so full today. I met my husband in recovery. I met his son, Elijah, as well.
All right, boys, this is the lineup. Nolan, Gunnar, Carson, Will, Eli, Evan, MJ, Alex.
One of the blessings of getting clean and sober is that I get to be this little boy's mom. One of the really awesome things that I've gotten to do as a result of being Eli's mom, my husband and I coached his t-ball team this year, a bunch of 5- and 6-year-olds.
Yeah, good work, buddy.
You know, I had to go through a background check to have all of that and have these parents trust that I'm going to take care of their kid, and I'm trustworthy today. And the res gave that to me. When I think about the res, I think about healing and about transformation and restoration and just about happiness. The res changes lives, and the res was designed to help women get clean and sober and to clean up the wreckage of their past and to be moms and to be employees and to be sisters and wives and daughters and all the things that we were intended to be. But the res allows women to find that space in themselves again, or to become it if they never had the opportunity to become that prior to using drugs and alcohol, and they've helped change so many lives, and mine included. Had I not had the opportunity to go there, I wouldn't be here today. They gave me a life worth living.